The stories of how sellers have been preserving beans with Sniper went viral recently. And we all know that when we buy beans in the market, at least one weevil must follow us home. If not checked, the weevil will multiply into 1 million weevils and finish up the beans, leaving us with nothing. To enlighten us on how to preserve beans and how to properly cook beans is a consultant public health physician who is also the author of a book, Healthy Diet, Dr. Folu Olaton. Welcome to the show, madam.
Nice being here.
You can call us on 070-806-68014. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweets. Aside from this issue of the Sniper that went viral recently, I think there's generally an issue with beans because there's just so much problem with the fact that it doesn't digest quickly, it makes you fart, they tell you it's healthy, but yet you take so much of it and then it's just, you just feel bloated sometimes when you eat beans. So I need you to start from the beginning. Number one, when you consume beans, when you buy beans, how do you preserve it? And then how should they properly preserve beans even before it gets to you?
Okay, so let's start from the sellers.
Yeah.
When sellers get their beans in stock, they're supposed to preserve in airtight containers.
Okay.
So there are certain bags that have been created for such purposes.
Right.
They're supposed to get those bags and fill up the bags to the brim,
right,
such that there's no space, there's no air,
right,
and then they're sealed, and that way they can stay for a long time. They can also add black pepper, Cameroon pepper, or red pepper, dry pepper. They can tie those, the pepper in small bags and put inside the beans. As long as air, oxygen, is not getting into the beans will be preserved and the weevils will not be allowed to thrive. On a large scale, nitrogen can also be added in place of oxygen. Right. But that's supposed to be done by an expert. So the experts, under safe conditions, are supposed to remove the oxygen, remove the air, and replace with another gas, in which case the weevils will not be able to thrive, they will not be able to destroy. There are different methods of preserving beans on a large scale, industrial scale, but these are supposed to be done by experts. Even the problem with the Sniper and other chemicals is because many of these people use the chemicals indiscriminately. It's not as if chemicals can be used at all, but they're supposed to be used by experts. Right. Okay, so when the beans now get to the buyer, ideally, one should not buy a large quantity of beans at a time. Right. Just buy the small quantity that can take you for 1 or 2 weeks and store in the house. You're supposed to store in the house for a while. So in the same way that the sellers store in airtight containers, you can also store in airtight containers in your house. You can use bags, nylon bags, that can be sealed. And add pepper in your house. You can also add pepper in the house.
What are those paint bucket containers?
It's better to actually use containers that have very little space, little opening, right, so that the amount of air is limited. Like jerry cans, you can pour the beans in jerry cans and make sure that it's full, okay, and then cover it. You can also store in the freezer. You can pour the beans either in food nylons or jerry cans or small kegs and keep them in your deep freezer. But the thing is that you shouldn't buy too much at a time. And like you said earlier on, if you notice just one weevil, that's safer than you not noticing any at all. But how do you now control that one weevil such that it doesn't multiply and destroy the old beans? That will be removing air, adding pepper, store in airtight container, and store in a cool place, right, or in the freezer.
When I was a child, I didn't eat beans because of the kokoro inside. But they told me that that's why I'm not tall, because those kokoros are what makes you grow.
Oh, no. That's just a food fad. The issue is you need to ask yourself, where is the weevil getting the protein from? The weevil is getting the protein from the beans. So that means the beans itself has protein. Okay, then if you buy beans, it's actually important to test whether there's chemical on it.
How?
If you just look at the beans and it looks like there's powder, it's looking dull, or it smells somehow, maybe the smell is awful, you can suspect that there's chemical in it. So if outrightly you're not comfortable with the way it smells, the way it looks, don't eat the beans at all. Don't take the beans. And then if you want to test whether it actually has chemical, just pour inside a bowl, pour water and stir for about 2 seconds. The chemical will come floating on top. Right. It will just look like an oil film on top of the water. And that way you know that you can't eat that beans.
Right.
But you see, whether there's chemical or not, a safe way to eat beans is actually to soak the beans for a while.
Somebody was telling us to soak overnight.
Yes, you can even soak it overnight. The challenge is that many people would not like the taste because it's not the usual taste they're used to. But if you really want to feel safe, because apart from chemicals, there's some substances in beans that actually discourage people from eating beans because those substances don't allow it to get digested fast. So if you soak it in water for some hours, let me tell you, some people even soak for 2 days. And that's where the beans sprouts and you are able to get the health benefits better.
Really?
Yeah, people, it does the same way you soak corn and process it into pap.
People
you can also germinate beans too.
People say when you eat beans, is it because you didn't soak it? That's why you feel bloated?
See, it's true that it makes people bloated because there's a kind of carbohydrates in the skin of the beans that doesn't digest easily, or even when it gets digested, it releases gas, and it's that gas that makes one to feel bloated. But when you soak the beans, the gas is released into the water. That gas that is released into your body that makes you pass gas is released into into the water. Then you can pour the water away, soak with rinse with fresh water and now cook. Wow. But if you can't take the trouble of soaking for 2 days or waiting for several hours, you can soak with hot water and you can even add baking soda. You know, our grandmothers use baking soda for different things. We can go back to that. Just soak with baking soda, and instead of waiting for 1 day, the baking soda acts fast. Some of those chemicals react with the baking soda, and then they're not reacting in your body.
I need to go on a break. Let me just take one question from you.
So is it healthier to eat agoy beans since you're boiling it for a very long time?
For a very long time.
Is that healthier than the regular beans?
Well, I wouldn't say it's healthier, but you see, it's going to digest faster because it has cooked for a longer time. But as long as you soak the beans a bit before cooking and you take time to cook it well, because some people don't cook beans well, and that's why they don't like eating beans. Many people don't know how to cook beans. If you cook it very well, you love it. You will enjoy it, and it will get there.
My grandpa used to send us different species of beans. There's this popular beans, all my people like to eat, and the taste is strange. It's called Elene, but I don't know the English name. It's kind of harder, and you have to boil for close to 2 days to get it soft.
What?
But it's unique in its taste. Please explain to me, how many species of beans exactly do we have, aside the white and brown that we know?
Oh, there are several.
How many do we have?
I can't give you the number. There are several species of beans. And one thing you need to know about food is that the different varieties have special nutrients, different nutrients. So that's what, when you see white beans, red beans, kidney beans, pinto beans, that means there's something specific about pinto beans that you may not be able to get from white beans. There's something great about kidney beans you may not be able to get from red beans. And that's why it's good to eat a wide variety of food, because those colors represent some kind of antioxidants.
What about species? I never know the difference between the one you use for memory and the one you regular, because I would just tell them, listen, I want to do memory tomorrow. Can I have beans? They not give me. So how do you, for those of us that don't know?
It's not as if there's any particular beans that is better for memory. The idea is the peeling.
Oh,
you know, when you soak white beans, the skin comes off easily.
Oh,
yes. So people will give you white beans or oloyin beans. It's also equally soft. For memory, because it's easy to peel it, and then
so
of course it's also cheaper. The white beans is cheaper. So why not use that for memory, since you won't really feel the taste as much as if you have cooked.
Let me take this call. Mona, are you there? Thanks for calling.
Hello, good morning.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I want to say something about what the guest said. He said before you cook your beans, you have to soak for some days, a day, and preferably 2 days. And due to my little knowledge about this, I discovered that when you soak food in liquid substances, you denature it. And when you denature, the consequence of that food gets into the water. Now, if you soak beans for 2 days, some of the proteinous constituents go along with the water when you pour away. So are you telling me that if we now later cook that soaked beans, we are going to get the required constituents, the proteinous constituents
Very
that
good
we are
question.
supposed to get from it?
Yeah.
Very good question. Thank you very much.
Okay, so when you soak beans for 2 days, what you're doing is germinating the beans, and the oligosaccharide on the skin of the beans gets digested, and you still have access to the nutrients on the beans. So you're not losing the nutrients, you're just making the beans to be in such a way that will be easier for the
It doesn't have to be 2 days. It can be a few hours.
No,
What
if
about
you're
this
doing
method?
2 hours, you can be with warm water, hot water,
Right.
and you
Okay.
can even add baking soda. That's not to say that you can't eat your beans outrightly
Zara the King.
by just cooking and eating outrightly. The other thing is that you need to study your digestive system, study your body, and know the kind of beans that you are able to tolerate very well. Some people can't tolerate kidney beans. So, for example, I don't eat kidney beans at all. I prefer to eat the oloyin beans or white beans.
I'm in shock. I didn't know there were all these kind of different beans. Me, I just thought beans was beans. I don't buy the beans.
Because you
I
don't
put it.
cook like it. You don't
Okay,
cook,
okay,
you know? It's
Zara
in the
the
first
King.
century.
I buy.
Okay, why would they give
Even
you?
if I don't cook it,
Zara the King is
God.
saying, I change the water of my
Yeah,
beans
okay.
3 times while cooking before it's done. Is this okay? Now I don't have the bloating issue or purging issues ever since I started cooking my beans this way. Please, is it okay?
It's very good to soak it with hot water before cooking. But
But
if you
while
have cooked
cooking.
that halfway and you're pouring away, you might be losing some nutrients. So what I advise is that you soak the beans before you're ready to cook,
Right.
and then you throw it away. Now, the thing about bloating is that gas that makes one to bloat has a lot to do with the kind of bacteria that are available in the digestive system to digest beans. And this is because many people don't eat beans often. The ideal thing is to try to eat some small portion of beans every day. Try to include it in your... I
why
eat
can't
beans
save them?
every day.
Always eating beans.
Sometimes I peel the beans and cook with the rice so that I'm not struggling with the back to digest the back. And of course, every other day I eat meme.
Right.
So I try to
Eat some kind of
beans somehow.
So with that, you don't get to fart.
I don't get to flat.
There's no problem farting. No, people are looking for
That fart is terrible. Well, it's not.
I beg you.
The beans fart is horrible.
It's not-
My
it's
like
elder
you
sister,
can
I
actually
remember
choke.
my elder sister when we were growing up, I used to cry and hate her for farting. But she had a surgery and we were waiting for 2 days for her to fart. And I
That's
regretted
a
every time
different
I
matter,
wanted her to fart.
You say,
Oh no.
This is a breakfast.
No,
People
no,
are
that
eating
is
breakfast.
Talk about flatulating
Hold on,
here.
can I ask you this question?
Very last question.
Okay.
Very last question. So which one is the onion beans? The small ones?
The
You know,
oloyin
there are
beans.
some very small ones.
No.
Then there's the fatter one.
No. Okay, just take the species of red beans. You see, some look a bit lighter red than the others that look deeper. And when you cook it, it's sweeter. That's the one that is called
lighter
olo.
red,
But there are even 2
have to run up,
species of
unfortunately.
oloyin beans.
We have to run
so
up,
you need to find out the one you
Unfortunately, we
really
don't have any more
like
time.
and you're comfortable
Thank you very
with.
much for educating
Thank you
us
so
on
much.
beans. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
We had a great time. YK, ask other questions after
So
the
you
show.
never really talked about the health benefits of
Well,
beans.
maybe next time we'll bring you back. We talk about health benefits a lot on this show, so don't worry. We'll bring you back. Have a fabulous day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.